Hey friends, what's up? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Chaf Aleph, Daf 21 of Masechet Rosh Hashanah. Friends, how's everyone doing after yesterday? Gosh, wow. I mean, yesterday goes up there as like one of the longest Babylon Talmud episodes. Like, it was like an hour and 12 minutes. That's a rarity. So how's everybody doing? You okay? You're, alright. Well, I guess you're back for more, so I guess that was okay. Friends, I'm very excited today because I have coffee, which is nice. I don't usually have coffee with me. I always drink coffee every day. First thing I do when I wake up, drink coffee. Otherwise it won't work so good. So, but now I have coffee with me right here. Very excited about that. Friends, what do you think today's daf talks about? Talks about Rosh Chodesh and witnesses and all that stuff, messengers. So, let's just kind of jump in. Okay, so we're going to start on Daf Chaf Amud Beis, like 4 lines from the bottom. Amar Reb Zeira. So, Amar Reb Nachman. So it says Reb Zeira in the name of Reb Nachman. That's interesting. Does Reb Zeira usually quote Reb Nachman? Probably not. Alright. It says Reb Zeira in the name of Reb Nachman. I mean, it's not crazy, but Kol Sfeik Lekame Shadinon. So whenever we have a suffix, we throw it ahead of us. Lememr to say the Chamesa V'Shitzar of Dinon Abeisa Lo of Dinon. No. So for example, if we have the first of Pesach is the 15th day of Nisan. Now we have a Sfeika Diyoma. So what's the Sfeika Diyoma? So Sfeika Diyoma is, well, we're not sure if it's day 15 or day 16. We are not concerned that maybe it's day 14, right? Meaning, the concern is that maybe, what's the month before Nisan? Adar could have been 20, Rosh Chodesh could have been basically on day 30 of Adar or day 31 of Adar, and we don't know, but there's never concern that maybe Rosh Chodesh was really day 29 of Adar. No, that's not like a thing. Okay, fine. So therefore, the Sfeika Diyoma is whether, Pesach falls out on the 15th to the 16th of Nisan. The concern is not about the 14th. Let's go weiter. V'liavad nami abeisar de machasur la'av chasur la'elu. Ha. Friends. But, what if, so they use Av and Elul over here, but it's the same thing as basically Shvat and Adar. So since we use Nisan, let's use Shvat and Adar. What happens if Shvat was a chaser, right? And we didn't know that. And Adar was also a chaser. And, right, so let's say we assume that, that Shvat was a mole, because usually it would be a mole, because we go, right, and by default, it's sort of, the default is that it's Echad mole ve'echad chaser. So Shvat would be a mole, Adar would be a chaser. But let's say they made Shvat, or of, a chaser, but we assumed that it was a male. But the truth is that since they made it a chaser, so actually Rosh Chodesh Adar is going to be kind of a day earlier, and so is Nisan. In which case, it would fall out that Pesach could be the 14th of Nisan. So what about that? Aren't we concerned that maybe Lav Davka that they made Rosh Chodesh on the 29th of Adar, right? That Rosh Chodesh Nisan was the 29th of Adar. No, that's not going to happen. But what if Shvat, rather than being a male, was a chaser, and then so was Adar? Well, in that case, so then we might need, so if in Eretz Yisrael they made both Shvat and Adar a chaser, but we didn't know, we assumed that Shvat was a male, in which case the 15th that we're assuming is really Pesach, in reality is going to be falling out on the 14th, which, right, so maybe we should have to do Pesach on the 14th also, out of concern that what if Shvat and Adar were chasers. Okay. Treyarche chasere kala islehu, to which the Gemara says, if that would be the case, you would know about it, right? If they made, right, usually Shvat or Av would be a male. If they made it chaser, and then they also made El chaser, you would know about it, and we're not concerned that you have to make Pesach, or I guess Sukkot, a day early. Okay. Coffee. Okay, let's go weiter. Levi ikla lebavel bechadser b'tishrei. Levi visited Bavel on the 11th day of Tishrei. Who could tell me what the 11th day of Tishrei is? The day after Yom Kippur. Now, if we're concerned about Sveika Diyomas, right, if we're not sure when, let's say, the first day of Sukkot is, so we do 2 days of Yom Tiv, so, technically speaking, you should have to do the same thing for Yom Kippur, right? So, Levi Iklu LeBavel, B'chadza B'Tishrei, so Levi got to Bavel on the 11th day of Tishrei, Omar, and he said, Bosum Tavshila de Bavloi B'Yom Rabba de Ma'arava. And he says, guess what, people? Y'all are cooking food, and while it smells delicious, the fact of the matter is, says Levi, in Eretz Yisrael, they made Elul a 30-day month, which means that Memele today, which you're assuming is the day after Yom Kippur, is actually Yom Kippur. And you guys are eating and cooking and doing all sorts of stuff on Yom Kippur. Amrile Asid, they said to him, if that's the case, testify that that's in fact the case, and then we'll accept today as being Yom Kippur. Amalu, and he said to them, Lo shamaiti mipi bezdin mekudesh. Look, the fact of the matter is, I did not hear out of the words of Bezdin mikudosh, and as we're going to learn today on Daf Chafalef Mud Beis, that Daf when it comes to Tishrei and when it comes to Nisan, the messengers don't go out until they literally hear from Bezdin themselves mikudosh, and therefore Levi says, look, while I can attest to the fact that they added a day to Elul, I did not hear it come out of their mouths, and therefore I cannot testify to you that that is the case. Okay, so therefore I guess, short of that, I guess there wasn't any objective or hard enough proof that that day was in fact Yom Kippur, and I don't know what they did. I guess it sounds like they didn't necessarily assume that they had to listen to Levi if he wouldn't give them factual testimony. Okay, fine. Oh, I love the feeling of caffeine just running right through your body. I don't know how it hits you so fast. It might be psychological. Fine. Machaz Rabbi Yechanan, so Rabbi Yechanan would announce, Kolecha dematu shluchei Nisan, v'lematu shluchei Tishrei, le'abdu trei yomei gzer Nisan atu Tishrei. Woo! Friends, who could tell us what that means? It's very interesting. Friends, if you think about it, the messengers who would, spread out, scatter all over the diaspora and Eretz Yisrael and outside of Eretz Yisrael to update the people about when Rosh Chodesh is. So they kind of, in a sense, had an advantage in Nisan, which is, well, let's take it from the opposite. In Tishrei, there's Rosh Hashanah, there's Yom Kippur. These are, offline days. You're not allowed, they can't be traveling on those days. And therefore, they're at a disadvantage, so to speak, in that there are all these days that they're actually not allowed to travel. So in Nisan, they can actually get further ahead. So says Rabbi Yochanan that these sort of, let's call them like outskirt areas where in Nisan, there's enough time for the messengers to get there. But in Tishrei, because of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, there is not enough time to get to these places. So even in Nisan, when the messengers arrive and they say that Rosh Chodesh was on day X, still, even though they know, okay, well, if Rosh Chodesh was day X, Memele, we know when the first day of Pesach is, we don't have to keep 2 days. So in those places, no, even then, they do keep 2 days, even though they know when Rosh Chodesh actually was, out of concern for Tishrei, right? Meaning if they say, well, for Pesach, we just kept 1 day, so we'll also keep 1 day for Sukkot, even though the witnesses didn't actually arrive yet. So since the witnesses don't have time to get there in Tishrei, so even in Nisan, when they do have enough time to get there and they do arrive and they say when Rosh Chodesh actually was, still they would keep 2 days of Yom Tov on Pesach, even though they know when Rosh Chodesh was, because the messengers were able to arrive in Nisan. Okay, so let's read that again. Machas Rabbi Yechanan announced, so any of these locations where the messengers of Nisan are able to arrive, but in Tishrei the messengers would be unable to arrive because of the days that they were unable to travel because of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Li'abdu treyomei. So even for Pesach, even in Nisan, they should still keep 2 days of Yom Tif, even though they technically know when Rosh Chodesh was, Gezerah Nisan atu Tishrei, because we make a Gezerah in Nisan out of concern for Tishrei. That if you only keep 1 day of Yom Tif in Nisan, then you might end up keeping 1 day of Yom Tif in Tishrei, even though in Tishrei the messengers don't have enough time to arrive. I mean, this is super interesting that during the time of Rabbi Yochanan, they were still doing Kiddush HaChodesh al Pi Re'iyah, which is super interesting. Meaning, I don't know, it feels in my mind like a Beis HaMikdash kind of thing. No more Beis HaMikdash, no more Kiddush HaChodesh. But no, I mean, it sounds like even during the time of the Amoraim, they were still doing Kiddush HaChodesh. We're going to see Rava in a second. Super interesting. I mean, Rava was not even first generation Amor. He was fourth generation Amor. So, super interesting. Yeah, at what point did they stop doing it? I don't know. Maybe it'll come up in the Gemara. Rabbi Evo Bar Nagre, Rabbi Chia Bar Abba, both students of Rabbi Yochanan, Iklu Le'ahu Asra, so they arrived at a certain location, a certain place. They have a Matu Shluchei Nisan, that was one of these places where the Nisan messengers would be able to arrive. However, V'lo Shluchei Tishrei, but in Tishrei, the messengers would be unable to arrive, right? It's one of these places that was sort of further out, that in Nisan, when there's no other sort of Yom Tivs that prevent the messengers from traveling, they would be able to arrive. But in Tishrei, when there's Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, they would be unable to arrive. So now Rabbi Yochanan had said that if you're spending Pesach in these places, so then you have to keep 2 days of Yom Tiv. Now, V'avdei chad yoma v'lo amru lu v'lo midi. And the people in this location, they nonetheless kept 1 day of Pesach, 1 day of Yom Tiv of Pesach, and Rabbi Evo Bar Nagri and Rabbi Chia Bar Abba didn't say anything to these people. Shama Rabbi Yechanan, and Rabbi Yechanan heard, Ve'ikbid, and he got upset. Omelu, he said to his students, Rabbi Evo Bar Nagri and Rabbi Chia Bar Abba, of course we know from Masechta Brachos already, that Rabbi Chia Bar Abba was one of the top students of Rabbi Yochanan. He would review everything he knew. He would review with Rabbi Yochanan every 30 days. So Rabbi Chia Bar Abba. Omelu, he said to them, didn't I tell you that in these places where the messengers of Nisan are able to arrive, but the messengers of Tishrei are unable to arrive, didn't I say that in these places they have to keep 2 days of Yom Tif out of concern for Tishrei, that we want to make sure that they certainly keep 2 days of Yom Tif in Tishrei, and therefore even in Nisan they should do it? So therefore he got upset. Rava, Rava would keep 2 days of Yom Kippur. He would mamish fast for 2 days straight, out of concern that what if in Eretz Yisrael they made Elul 30 days? Zimna chada ishtekach kavose, and one time it actually turned out that they did add a day to Elul, and it was a good thing that he fasted for 2 days because it was only because Yom Kippur was only the second, right? It ended up being the second day. So it's a good thing that he fasted for 2 days. Okay, super interesting. Rav Nachman, Yosef b'Tanisa Kulei Yom Kippur. Rav Nachman was fasting all day on Yom Kippur. Okay, the Orta, and that night, also Ahu Gavra, a certain fellow came. Now, sometimes we assume to a certain extent that Ahu Gavra is Eliyahu Hanavi, but anyways, a certain fellow came, Omerle, and said to Rav Nachman, Idnu Yom Rabba b'may Rava, that actually tonight, what you think is Motzoi Yom Kippur, actually tonight is in fact Yom Kippur in Eretz Yisrael. I wonder if it's the same year that it turned out that Rava was warranted in fasting 2 days. If it was that same year that it turned out good that Rava fasted for 2 days, and now this fellow went and told Rav Nachman, by the way, in Eretz Yisrael also, in Eretz Yisrael, Taka tonight is Yom Kippur. Amalei, and he said to this fellow, Rav Nachman said to this fellow, Mehecha'at, where are you from? Amalei Damharya, I'm from a place called Damharya. Amalei Damte Achriso, he says, Oy Vavoy, Damte Achriso, his end is going to be blood, Kilu. Rav Nachman was referring to himself. He says, oh my gosh, how am I going to survive this? Kari he called about this fellow, Kalamayurod Feinu, that those who were pursuing us were so light. Oh my gosh, Rav Nachman, I guess, was not in the mood to be fasting a second day. Alright. Shalach Lahu, Rav Huna bar Oven liRave. So Rav Huna bar Oven sent over to Rave. Karchozes the mashka tkufas teves ad shitzur benisin. So if it turns out that Tkufas Teves is the winter, right? There are 4 seasons that go by the solar year. So there are sort of, I guess, objectively 4 seasons. Each one is 91 and a quarter days. And anyways, so Tkufas Teves is essentially the winter season. So it says Rav Huna bar Oven to Rava, if you see that the winter is going to extend until the 15th day of what is it? The 15th to the 16th, Shitzer, till the 16th day of Nisan. So then, Abru la Yishata. So make it a leap year. Add a month onto the year. Make a second order. And don't worry about it. Let's talk about that in a second. The Chsiv, as it says, Shamar is Chodesh Aviv. Guard the month of Aviv. What does that mean? Of spring. Shamar Aviv Shel Tkufa. Make sure that the spring, that the actual, springtime, Sheyeh b'chodesh Nisan, that it is in the month of Nisan. Meaning that make sure, right, Sheyeh b'chodesh Nisan, like in the new part of Nisan. Meaning make sure that already by the 14th, which is still sort of the first part of Nisan, make sure that the 14th day of Nisan is already in the springtime. But if you see that the winter, Tkufas Teves, the winter is going to be extend into already the 16th day of Nisan, so then add another month to the year. Now, what if you see that Tkufas Teves will continue until the 15th day of Nisan? Well, in that case, just add a day to Adar, and then by adding a day to Adar, so then Tkufas Nisan will fall out on the 14th day of Nisan, and you don't need to add a whole month to the year. But if Tkufas Teves, if the winter is going to extend until the 16th day of Nisan, so even if you add a day to Adar, you're still going to be in the 15th. Springtime is when you start on the 15th of Nisan. We needed to start b'chodesh Aviv, b'chidusha, right? When the moon is still sort of getting bigger and bigger. That is up to and including the 14th day of Nisan. So again, if the winter will extend until the 16th day of Nisan, so then you have to add a month to the year. If it's the 15th day of Nisan, just add a day to Adar. And it says v'lo tachush, right? Don't be concerned. What it means is don't be concerned that this is specifically the opinion of Acherim, Masechta Sanhedrin, whatever. Don't say, but the halacha is not like him. No, the halacha is like him. That in this case you would add a month to the year. Okay, I have questions on Acherim though, because Acherim is the one who's makbid to say that it's always Echad Mali v'Echad Chaser. Okay, I'm not getting, I don't know. I have a kasha on it. I don't know, I don't get it. But anyways, that's what Rav Huna bar Oven says to Rava, that if you see that the winter will extend until the 16th day of Nisan, so add a month onto the year, so that then the spring will fall out in Adar Sheni, essentially, which means that Memele, once Pesach starts, it will be in the springtime. Okay? Let's go weiter l'maaseh. Omerlu Rav Nachman said to the seafarers, which is interesting because we've seen a few times Shmuel communicating with the seafarers, and both Shmuel and Rav Nachman were in the same city of Nardo. So so he said to the seafarers, Atun, you seafarers, which of course you're not going to know, you're out at sea, you're not going to know when Rosh Chodesh was established. So ki chazisu siara demashtem liyoma, when you see that when it gets to the point where the moon sets when the sun rises, but you chamira, that is when you should burn your chametz. Amos mashlim b'chamesa, to which the Gemara says, wait, but when is it that the moon sets when the sun rises? On the 15th of Nisan. Right, so but we burn our chametz on the 14th, not the 15th. These seafarers, since they're out at sea and they have like the most ideal view of the moon and the sun and all that stuff, there's nothing blocking. So they actually, for them, they will actually, the moon will be setting when the sun rises, actually on the 14th. Alright, that sounds like a lot of fun. Friends, moving on to Daf Chaf Aleph Amud Beis, we are now at a new Mishnah. But it is not our last Mishnah of the day. There are 2 months that would be Machal Shabbos. As we saw, I think yesterday, Yeah, certainly yesterday. That was shtickle ping pong. So brain spaghetti, ping pong. Anyways, there are 2 months that the witnesses who look up in the sky and they see the moon. So if it's Rosh Chodesh Tishrei or Rosh Chodesh Nisan, they are allowed on Shabbos to travel to Jerusalem, even though it's outside of the Tchum Shabbos. Although lav dafka Jerusalem, right? I think at a certain point, I think it was probably Yavne. But anyways, they're allowed to travel to testify that they saw the moon on Shabbos. So for there are 2 months that the witnesses are able to be Mechal Shabbos to testify that they saw the new moon. Al Nisan Val Tishrei, the months of Nisan and Tishrei Sheben Shluchin Yotzin the Surya, because on those months the messengers go out to Surya. I guess it means probably as far as Surya, but I don't know. They go out to Surya. And based on the testimony of these people, based on Rosh Chodesh Tishrei and Rosh Chodesh Nisan, that is when the festivals are going to fall out. So it's super important. And when there was a Beis Hamikdash, so then on all of the months they would be able to travel to testify about the new moon, even on Shabbos, because there was nafkaminas there in terms of making sure that you're offering the Korban Musaf on the proper day. Okay, second, just chapping a shtick of coffee. Amazing. Says the Gemara, Al Beis Chodashim Besulo. Friends, I know you're thinking the same thing. Only on 2 months the messengers go out? I thought we had said the other day. Who could tell me when the other day was? It Yud Ches or something? Yeah, we said at the bottom of Daf Yud Ches. Al Shisha Chodash Mashluchin Yotzin. But 1 second. V'aminu al Vav Chodash Mashluchin Yotzin. We had a Mishnah that says that there are 6 months that the messengers go out, right? We talked about Adar because of Purim, Kislev because of Hanukkah. So, how come we're saying that there are 2 months that you're Mechal Shabbos because it's those 2 months that the messengers go out? What do you mean there are 6 months that the messengers go out? So, Amar Abaye, Hochi Kamar. So, Abaye says, this is how you have to understand the Mishnah, Al Kulan Shluchin Yotzin Mi Ba'erev. That on the other months, so for example, Kislev or Adar, so the messengers can go out even at night. So for example, if they see, if you mamish see the moon, it's clear to everybody that on day 29 already, you can see the moon. So it's clear that day 30 is going to be Rosh Chodesh. So that night already, the messengers can go out. They don't need to wait to hear the words Mekudash come out of the mouths of Bezdin, right? As we saw earlier on the daf, when we saw when Levi visited Bavel, and he said that, you guys are cooking and eating on Yom Kippur, and they said, well, can you testify about that? And he said, no, I didn't hear it come out from the mouths of Bezdin. When it comes to Tishrei, when it comes to Nisan, you have to hear it come from the mouths of Bezdin. And until the messengers hear Bezdin say Mekudesh, Mekudesh, so then until they hear Bezdin say Mekudesh, they can't go out and travel. However, when it comes to Rosh Chodesh Kislev, Rosh Chodesh Adar, Rosh Chodesh Elul, so in those cases, I think there was one other one there. In those cases, what was the other one? Right? We said, what did we say? We said Adar because of Purim, Kislev because of Hanukkah. We said Elul because of the Moadim. What was the other? Oh, also Av because of Tisha B'Av. Anyways, so for those, if they clearly see that there's a new moon already, on day 29, so Memela day 30 is going to have to be Rosh Chodesh, or for example, if day 30 wasn't Rosh Chodesh, and therefore Memela, if day 30 wasn't Rosh Chodesh, so then day 31 is going to be Rosh Chodesh, and it's going to be a Chodesh Malay. So in those cases, by process of elimination, or if it's so obvious that the next day is going to be Rosh Chodesh, so they can already go out at night to start telling the people when Rosh Chodesh is. Now, however, when it comes to Tishrei, and when it comes to Nisan, Ein Mekadchin is a Chodesh Balayla. Right? Well, meaning never. That's a general rule. Ein Mekadchin is a Chodesh Balayla. We are not Mekadesh the Chodesh at night. Therefore, because we're not Mekadesh the Chodesh at night, so the messengers are unable to go out at night. They have to wait till the next day. So let's say on day 29, it's clear to everybody that there's a new moon. So if it's Adar, so they could already go out that night and start telling people. But when it comes to Tishrei or Nisan, even if it's clear that it's going to be Rosh Chodesh, let's say on day 30, still they would be unable to go. The messengers cannot go out at night. They need to wait until day 30 when they hear Bezdin say Mikudesh. Only at that point are they able to go out and testify about the new moon. Okay, fine. So Omar Bai says Abai Ochi Omar. This is what the Mishnah is saying. Al Kulan Shluchin Yotzin Mi Ba'erev. That when it comes to all of the other months that the shluchim, that the messengers go out and tell everybody about Rosh Chodesh, so they can do that already at night. They don't have to wait for Bezdin to say Mekudesh. Al Nisan Val Tishrei. However, when it comes to Nisan, when it comes to Tishrei, Ad Shishmu Mipi Bezdin Mekudesh, you have to hear Bezdin say Mekudesh, and only at that point can they go and tell all the communities. We also learn in a brayso like this, that on all of the months that the messengers go out, they go out at night, al Nisan val Tishrei, whereas Nisan and Tishrei, ad shishmu mipi Bezdin Mekudesh, yidavka, they need to hear from Bezdin Mekudesh that it's now Rosh Chodesh. At that point, can they go out and testify, and can they go out and spread it among the communities? Okay, this is when Rosh Chodesh is, and for that reason, on Nisan and on Tishrei, the witnesses can come even on Shabbos, because on Nisan and Tishrei there's like real nafkaminas, right? Because if we say that they cannot come and testify, right? They cannot come and give their testimony on Shabbos because they're going to have to go past the Tchum Shabbos. Well, then if they can only come on Motzei Shabbos, well, Bezdin is not Mekadesh the Chodesh at night, and therefore they can only be Mekadesh Chodesh the next day, which means that the messenger is going out to tell all the people when Rosh Chodesh was, and there's nafkaminas for Pesach, for Sukkot, they can only then go out on the next day, which, holds things back. And therefore, and therefore, right, so if the witnesses saw the new moon on Shabbos, so if we allow them to come and testify about it on Shabbos, so then already that night, on Motzei Shabbos, right? So on Shabbos they'll be Mekadesh Chodesh, and Motzei Shabbos already the witnesses can go out. And there's other nafkaminas also, right? Because if they say that Shabbos then is Rosh Chodesh, so then they have 2 full weeks to go and spread it among the communities, right? They have Sunday through Friday, Shabbos they're not going to go, but then they have another Sunday through Friday, and then Pesach, let's say, is going to be 2 Shabboses later. But let's say we don't allow the witnesses to come on Shabbos. So then they're not going to be able to get Memela, they're not going to be able to be there until earliest Motzei Shabbos. And Bezdin is only going to be Mekadesh Chodesh the next day on Sunday. So not only do the witnesses lose out the ability to travel on Motzei Shabbos, but also if Sunday is Rosh Chodesh, so then Memela, that means that, let's say, Pesach is going to be on a Sunday, which means that also Erev Pesach is a Shabbos, which means they're not going to be able to travel on that Shabbos. Kilu, they lose the Motzei Shabbos, they lose the Erev Pesach is a Shabbos, they can't travel. So basically, if you say that the witnesses are unable to testify on Shabbos, then it kind of creates a headache for the messengers on Tishrei and on Nisan, since they can't go out until they hear Bezdin say Mekudesh, which means that they're going to have to wait till the next day, which creates all sorts of headaches. So therefore, since on Tishrei and on Nisan, the messengers can only go out once they hear the Bezdin say Mekudesh, so therefore they can already come and give their testimony on Shabbos, so that the shluchim can go out and start spreading the news ASAP. Tanu Rabbanon, the rabbis taught, so how do we know that you mechalel Shabbos for Tishrei and for Nisan? So how do we know that we're mechalel Shabbos for Tishrei and for Nisan? Well, because the pasuk says these are the festivals of God. Asher tikru osa b'moadim. You should make them tikru osam. You should call them. You should make them mekudesh at their proper time. And if that's on Shabbos, then it should even be on Shabbos. Yachol kshem shemchalin al sheizkadru kach mchalin al sheizkaimu. Now, is it possible that just like the witnesses who are testifying that they saw the new moon, they can be mechal Shabbos in order to testify about the new moon, so that they could be mekadesh the chodesh, do kiddush HaChodesh. So is it possible that just like the witnesses can be Mechal Shabbos, right, obviously not being Mechal Shabbos Midoraisa, but can sort of waive the halacha of Tchum Shabbos? So is it possible that just like the witnesses can testify on Shabbos, so also the messengers can go out and spread it among the communities on Shabbos? Tamalomar Hashetikruosam, that it says that you will call them at the proper time. Al Kriyosam Atamachal V'Atamachal Al Kiyumun. So you can, so to sort of be Mekadesh the Chodesh, the witnesses can travel on Shabbos, but to sort of be Mekayim it, to spread it among the nation, among the people, so the messengers would be unable to spread it among the communities and travel on Shabbos. So now, interestingly, we basically seem to have two parallel reasons for why people are able to give testimony that they saw the moon on Shabbos, right? One of them being that, the messengers are only allowed to travel, to head out on Nisan and on Tishrei once they hear Mekudesh, and if we don't allow them to testify on Shabbos, then it basically delays everything and creates a headache. So that was one reason. The other reason is from a pasuk that it says, and you have to, right, be Mechal Shabbos in order to be Mekadesh the Chodesh on time. So Rashi points out that that's actually the real reason. The second reason, the Gzeres HaKosov, is the real reason why we could be Mechal Shabbos in order to give testimony is because in order to fix so that the festivals will be at the proper time. But says Rashi, this other reason for the witnesses is sort of like a supporting reason. Not the witnesses, the messengers, right? That the messengers can only go out once they hear Mekudash. That's kind of like a supporting reason that, also additionally, that since they can only leave once they hear Mekudesh, if you delay it till the next day, then it also kind of holds them up by like a whole day. Okay, fine. And when there was a Beis Hamikdash, so actually the witnesses would be able to travel to give their testimony on Shabbos for any month in order to ensure that the Korbanis, the Korban Musaf, is going to be offered on the proper time. That initially they would the witnesses would be Mechal Shabbos to give their testimony on every month of the year. However, once the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said to the people, is there a korban anymore that you need to be Mechal Shabbos in order to ensure that the korban is being offered on time? No, there's no Beis Hamikdash. At that point they said, look, we can't be Mechal Shabbos to give testimony anymore, only for Nisan and Tishrei, in order to make sure that these festivals will be celebrated at the proper time. Alright, that's it for my coffee. No more coffee breaks until the end of Daf Chof Aleph. Says the Mishnah, Ben Shnir Ba'alil, Ben Shlonir Ba'alil, whether the moon was seen, in obvious exposure, right? Revealed to everybody. So whether it was kind of clearly seen, whether it wasn't clearly seen, Mechal and Olavas HaShabbos, you could still be Mechal Shabbos. Rabbi Yossi Omer Nir Ba'alil Ei Mechal and Olavas HaShabbos. Whereas Rabbi Yossi says, look, if it was clearly seen in the sky, then there's no reason to be Mechal Shabbos. I mean, it's clear that it's going to be Rosh Chodesh. Alright. Ma'aseh Shavu Yosem Aboim Zug. There was 1 year, 1 month, I guess it happened, that more than 40 pairs of witnesses showed up to be Mekadesh, the Chodesh, I guess on Shabbos. Ve'ikvum Rabbi Akiva belud. And Rabbi Akiva in Lud said, hey, friends, there's too many of you. Like, don't just stay here. Shalach lo Rabbi Gamliel sent to Rabbi Akiva, Ima'akif ata esarabim nimtzeis machshidin lasud lavo. Very interesting. So Rabbi Gamliel says to Rabbi Akiva, and we're going to see in the Gemara that it actually wasn't Rabbi Akiva, but for now it's Rabbi Akiva. So Rabbi Gamliel sent to Rabbi Akiva, hey Rabbi Akiva, don't do that. Don't stop the people in Lud, because if you stop them now, then the next time they want to come to give testimony, they're going to say, oh, well, the last time we came, they didn't actually need us. So rather, says Rabbi Gamliel, let them come through. Givaldig. Very, very Givaldig. Why is it Givaldig? It's Givaldig because I think it's Givaldig. Rabbi Gamliel was like the man in charge. I don't know, he's cool. Yeah, Rabbi Gamliel was a leader, I'm getting my own thoughts. I'm not explaining all of them. Let's go weiter. You can have your own thoughts about Rabbi Gamliel. Rabbi Gamliel is an interesting fellow. I mean, dude, I'm not getting into this. Let's go weiter. Okay, so says the Gemara, my mashma dai olil lishnu de megalium. How do we know that olil means revealed? Amar babo, says babo, Amar kra. The pasuk says, Imros Hashem amaros tahoros kesef tzarav ba'olil la'aretz. That the words of the Eibishter are very pure, like pure silver, in sort of exposed in the ground. All right, so we see ba'olil means exposed. Mezukok shivasayim. The pasuk then continues and says that it is 7 times pure or something. But Rabu Shmuel, ready for this? So Rab and Shmuel say, Chad Omar. One of them says, friends, you ready? Nun sharibina nivru ba'olam. There are 50 gates of what's bina? Understanding, that were created in the world. Friends, v'chulan nitnu l'Moshe. All 50 of them were given to Moshe Rabbeinu. Chaser echad, just -1. Moshe Rabbeinu achieved 49 gates of bina. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, that the Eibishter made him slightly less than God. So, and we get that from Shivosayim. Shivosayim is 7 times 7, which is 49. So there were 50 gates of understanding of bina that were created in the world. Moshe Rabbeinu achieved 49 of them. Bikesh Koheles limtzo divrei chayfetz, and Koheles wanted to do the same thing, right? So it says the pasuk, it's a pasuk in Koheles, that Bikesh Koheles limtzo divrei chayfetz, that Koheles wanted to find these words of, chayfetz, desire, Bikesh Koheles lios kemoshe. Koheles, Shlomo Melech, wanted to be like Moshe Rabbeinu. Yotzu basko ve'omrlo. And a voice from heaven came out and said to Shlomo Melech, "V'chosav Yoshe divrei emes." That same pasuk of Bikesh Koheles limtzo divrei chayfetz says "V'chosav Yoshe divrei emes," and written books of truth. That basically it says in the Torah, "V'lo kam navi od b'Yisrael k'Moshe." Look, it says in the Torah that there was no other prophet like Moshe, and therefore, basically God was saying, "Hey, Shlomo, take a chill pill." V'chad Omar, and the other one says, "B'neviim lo kam." That no, there was no prophets like Moshe, but there could have been kings like Moshe on the level of Moshe. So then what's the deal then? Meaning if we're saying that there could be kings on the level of Moshe Rabbeinu, so what was the problem with Shlomo Melech wanting to be on the level of Moshe Rabbeinu? So Bikesh Koheles ladun dinin shebelev shelo be'edim shelo ba'asra. Koheles wanted to be, right, Shlomo Melech wanted to be able to judge cases just out of using his own intuition, without witnesses, without warnings. And a voice came out from heaven and said to Shlomo Melech, that it basically says in the Torah, that you need to have witnesses. You can't have a court case without witnesses. All right, very interesting stuff. So the Mishnah had said that there was a story when there were more than 40 pairs of witnesses that came to testify about the moon. Tanya, we talk learn in a brayso. Rabbi Yehuda says, Rabbi Yehuda chaz v'shalom she'Rabbi Akiva ikvan. Rabbi Yehuda was of course a student of Rabbi Akiva. He says chaz v'shalom that my Rabbi Akiva held back these witnesses from testifying about the moon. Ela shezefer Rosh shel Goder ikvan. It was Shezefer, the head of Goder, who held them back. V'shalach Rabbi Gamliel v'aridu migdulaso, and Rabbi Gamliel then sort of demoted him from his position because he should not have been holding back witnesses from testifying about the new moon. Friends, that was the Daf Chaf Aleph of Masechta Rosh Hashanah. So the first part of the Daf, we kind of talked about more like Rosh Chodesh kind of stuff, about seeing the moon and Sveka Diyoma, right? We saw the story with Levi, that he came from Eretz Yisrael to Bavel, and he saw that on the 11th day of Tishrei they were eating, and he says, wait, but actually they added a day to Elul in Eretz Yisrael, and therefore really today's Yom Kippur. They said, wait, but can you testify? He says, well, I didn't hear them say I didn't actually hear them say Mekudosh. We had the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan that in places where the the messengers in Nisan can arrive, but in Tishrei they can't arrive because of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. So then, in those places, even in Nisan, they have to keep 2 days. And we saw that Rave would fast for 2 days in Yom Kippur just in case. In Taka, 1 year, it turned out that they added a day to Elul in Eretz Yisrael. So maybe that was also the same year that Ula testified that they added that day in Eretz Yisrael, but Ula was earlier than Rava. But maybe that was the year with Rav Nachman. Oh, Ula and Rav Nachman Taka are sort of the same age, and I think, and like they communicate with each other. Obviously, there's the famous story with Ula and Yalta that a lot of wine got sacrificed that day. So what were we talking about? So one time Rav Nachman was fasting, and after Yom Kippur, a fellow said to him, "Oh, by the way, tonight is actually Yom Kippur," and that was kind of difficult for him. We said that if the winter is going to extend into already the 16th day of Nisan, so you have to add a month onto the year. And then we said that there are 2 months that we are Mechalel Shabbos, that the witnesses could travel past the Tchum Shabbos in order to give their testimony about the new moon, and that is Tishrei and Nisan. And interestingly, we gave 2 reasons for that. Well, okay, so we said because it's those days that the witnesses, those months that the witnesses go out and the messengers go out and tell all the people when Rosh Chodesh is. And kind of the Gemara gave 2 reasons for why we could be Mechal Shabbos Davka on Tishrei and Nisan. The first reason that we gave was, well, when it comes to specifically Nisan and Tishrei, the messengers can only go out once they hear Bezdin say Mikudash, once they mamish hear Bezdin say when Rosh Chodesh is going to be. And for that reason, if we allow the witnesses to give their testimony on Shabbos, so then already on Shabbos they can be Mekadesh the Chodesh, and that night already the messengers can go out. If we don't allow them to testify on Shabbos, well then they can only come Motzai Shabbos, which means that Bezdin has to wait till the next day in order to be Mekadesh the Chodesh, which means that the messengers get delayed. So in order to prevent that situation, which is unique to Tishrei and Nisan, because Dafka Tishrei and Nisan, they have to hear it from the Bezdin, so they say that the witnesses can come even on Shabbos. The other reason is because it says Ele Moadei Hashem Mikrai Kodesh Asher Tikru Osam Moadam, that they say Mikudash, they announce the month. It has to be at its proper time, and therefore, even if it's Shabbos, you can travel in order to be Mikadesh the Chodesh on Shabbos. The Mishnah had said that when the Beis Hamikdash was around, the witnesses can even travel on Shabbos any month of the year in order to ensure that the Korban Musafin for Rosh Chodesh were offered on their correct date. After the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said, this reason is irrelevant at this point. There's no korbanos, so only on Nisan and Tishrei, when we need to make sure that the Rosh Hashanah, that the Moadim essentially are going to be at the proper day. So only then can you be Michal Shabbos to testify. We said that the testimony, they can be Michal Shabbos whether they saw that, whether the moon was obvious in the sky, whether it was less obvious in the sky. Rabbi Yossi says, no, if it's obvious in the sky, they would not be Michal Shabbos. There was a story where 40 pairs of witnesses showed up, and the Mishnah said Rabbi Akiva, but the Gemara said actually it was this fellow named Shazefer, kind of held them up, and Gamliel says, hey, what are you doing? Don't do that, because then they're not going to want to come in the future. And then we also said that even though the witnesses could testify and travel on Shabbos, the messengers do not travel on Shabbos. Friends, have a good day. Peace out.